I never believed in the old tales of the Afanc, the lake monster said to lurk beneath the still waters of Gwender. My grandmother used to recount stories of it, a creature that could pull the unwary into the depths, but I always dismissed them as mere folklore. That is, until one fateful afternoon. It was a crisp autumn day, the kind that beckons you outdoors with its vibrant hues and the promise of adventure. I had come to the lake to seek solace and inspiration, a welcome reprieve from the clamor of city life. The air was brisk, scented with the earthy aroma of fallen leaves and damp moss. I parked my car on a small gravel path, stepping out to embrace the tranquility that surrounded me. Gwender lay before me, a shimmering expanse of blue nestled among the hills of Wales. The trees stood tall, their foliage dressed in fiery oranges and golds, reflecting on the water's surface like a painting come to life. I pulled out my sketchbook, eager to capture the beauty of the scene. As I settled on the bank, the serenity wrapped around me like a warm blanket, and I lost myself in the rhythmic sounds of nature, the rustling leaves, the gentle lapping of the water. Hours slipped away unnoticed. I sketched the undulating hills, the occasional bird swooping overhead, and the reflections that danced upon the lake. The sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the water, and I could feel the chill of evening creeping in. That's when I heard it, a soft splash, followed by a peculiar gurgling sound that drew my attention. I turned to the water, heart racing with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. The surface rippled, and for a moment, I thought it might be a trick of the fading light. But then, a dark shape emerged, gliding just beneath the surface. My breath caught in my throat. The creature was larger than I expected, its body undulating like a serpent. Panic fluttered in my chest, but an odd fascination kept me rooted in place. The creature drew closer, and I could see its features more clearly, scales glinting in the twilight, eyes that shimmered like polished stones. It was both beautiful and terrifying, a living embodiment of the legends that had haunted my childhood. A sense of dread washed over me, but my instincts compelled me to reach for my sketchbook. I fumbled with my pencils, trying to capture the creature before it vanished. Just as I began to draw, the Afanc let out a low, rumbling growl. The sound reverberated through the air, sending chills down my spine. I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to see my grandmother's ghostly figure, warning me to flee. But I was alone. Suddenly, the creature surged toward the shore, its massive form breaking the surface with a splash that sent waves crashing against the bank. I stumbled backward, the sketchbook tumbling from my hands. For a heartbeat, our eyes locked, mine wide with fear, its gaze piercing and ancient. In that moment, I felt a connection to the stories my grandmother had told me, a bridge between myth and reality. Instinct kicked in, and I turned and ran, not daring to look back. The branches snagged at my clothes, the underbrush crackling beneath my feet. I could hear the water churning behind me, the unmistakable sound of the Afanc in pursuit. My heart raced as I navigated the twisting path through the trees, adrenaline coursing through my veins. Every snap of a twig felt like the creature was just a breath away, eager to claim me as its own. I didn't stop until I reached the safety of my car, heart pounding like a drum. The world around me was a blur of shadow and movement. I fumbled with the keys, barely able to catch my breath as I finally started the engine. The headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating the gravel path ahead. As I sped away, I dared to glance back at the lake, now shrouded in darkness. The moonlight glimmered on the water, tranquil and still once more. But the memory of that encounter burned in my mind. That night, I sat in my small apartment, the sketchbook sprawled before me, untouched since the chaos at the lake. I could still see the Afanc in my mind, the glimmer of its scales, the intensity of its gaze. I thought of the stories I had heard, the warnings passed down through generations. My grandmother's voice echoed in my thoughts, a reminder that some legends hold a kernel of truth. Sleep eluded me as I pondered the experience. What had I witnessed? A creature of myth brought to life, or merely a trick of the light? I recalled the villagers' tales, shared over pints in dimly lit pubs, their voices low and conspiratorial as they spoke of the Afanc's wrath. It guards the waters, they'd say, and it doesn't take kindly to intruders. Days passed, but the encounter lingered, haunting me. I returned to the lake, compelled by an inexplicable pull. This time, I came prepared, equipped with a camera and a determination to face my fear. The air was heavy with anticipation as I approached the water's edge. My heart raced with a mix of excitement and dread, every sound amplified in the stillness. I spent hours waiting, scanning the surface for any sign of movement. The sun dipped lower, casting a golden hue across the lake, but nothing stirred. Just as I began to think I'd imagined it all, I heard the familiar splash once more. My heart raced as I turned, camera ready. But the creature didn't reveal itself. Instead, a ripple spread across the water, as if the lake itself was breathing. I felt a chill run down my spine, the legends whispering in my ears. Had I come back to confront the Afanc? Or was I merely inviting danger once again? I left that day with more questions than answers. The mystery of the Afanc still unresolved. Each return to the lake drew me deeper into its secrets, a place where myth and reality intertwined. I realized then that the stories of my grandmother weren't just tales, they were warnings, echoes of an ancient truth. Even now, as I reflect on that day, I wonder if the Afanc is watching. Perhaps it lurks beneath the surface, waiting for another unwary traveler to tread too close. I've learned to respect the stories of my ancestors, for sometimes, the line between myth and reality blurs in the most unexpected ways. And in the quiet of the night, when the wind rustles through the trees, I can still hear the whispers of the lake, reminding me that some legends are best left undisturbed.